So, I gotta apologize to you guys, up front and forward. I am sorry that it's taken me this long to get episode 8's review to you guys, to your faces. It's been a really long week since we saw episode 8 at the theater. So, yeah, the PORGS. I blame the PORGS.
Shut up and sit down.
Hey guys and girls, welcome back to Midnight's premiere. My name is Mr. Midnight, but of course you probably already know that by now. Today's review is going to be the brand new Star Wars movie that just dropped in theaters a week ago, and that would be Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. Big old red text, ominous. Everyone was really scared about what this was going to entail. So let's break it down like we always do here at Midnight's premiere. So, The Last Jedi brings forward a few of our classic characters. Of course, the late, great Carrie Fisher as General Leia this time, and not Princess Leia. Of course, she has passed away. She passed away shortly after the post-production wrapped on Star Wars Episode 8. And, of course, we all miss her. And, of course, Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker. And, yes, he actually has lines in this movie, and they are fantastic. So, this is a short time frame after Star Wars The Force Awakens. Okay, we pick up where we left off, basically a few weeks, few days, few months later, and the First Order is hot on the Resistance's trail. We gotta get out of there, we gotta escape and go for The Last Jedi. So, really what I loved about this movie, okay, what I loved and what I liked, again, I'm just, they're all grouped together. And I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this right off the bat. This is a very, very long movie, okay? There's a lot of false ends in this movie. And what I mean by false ends is there's wrapping up of storylines in the movie, and you think the movie's going to end in a few more frames, a few more scenes, but no, there's another storyline over here, there's a storyline over there, bam, 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 bam. It's like you're reading or watching Game of Thrones, and there's all these storylines, and they have a few episodes to get them in, so it is a little cramped. I'm not gonna lie. It is a little cramped of a movie, but overall, aesthetically, the visuals are amazing. They're fantastic. The soundtrack is fantastic for the time frame that we have. And I gotta admit, it is a really decent Star Wars movie, and there's not one lightsaber on lightsaber battle in this movie. Not one. That's not really a spoiler because there just isn't, okay? So, what I loved about this movie was, again, the visual effects were astounding, okay? The director, Brian Johnson, he killed it, man. He just killed the visual effects. He killed the soundtrack, and the actors and actresses playing their different roles. Kylo Ren, Rey, Finn. They all had an amazing time doing their roles, and you could see that in their faces. It was just a refreshing take on Star Wars. A lot of people are saying that it's a far cry from what Star Wars was, even from the prequel era. I happen to disagree humbly. It showed us a different side to Star Wars. It's something that Star Wars could aspire to, or maybe even never go to again, but in this movie. It had a special nuance, I guess you could say, and I found that fantastic. Now, the things that I liked in this movie were those damn porgs. I know they are really a Disney cash grab, sell stuffed animals at Christmas time thing. I get that, I do. And they could have been overused so much in this movie, but they were not. They were not overused. They were carefully placed, and they were just cute when you needed a break from all the tension, because this movie is a very tension-filled movie. You go into some of the backstory that fueled The Force Awakens. I gotta tell you, there were some really intense scenes in this, but all in all, the things that I liked were really the porgs and some of the character development in the movie as well. You have the Poe Dameron storyline. We got to see a lot more of him. He didn't really have a lot of speaking parts in The Force Awakens. What he did have was fantastic, but this time we really see his inner resistance pilot, the commander that he should be, come out. And there's a whole lot of humor actually in this, and I like that as well. It kind of broke, like I said, the tension. So really great as far as the like aspect goes. Now the things that I didn't particularly care for, okay? Now they are few and far between, but they are worth mentioning, okay? And they do kind of knock points off of the movie. It was way too long. 2 hours and 33 minutes is the longest Star Wars film we've had ever on the silver screen, okay? And there was a lot. There was a lot, and I almost feel like I should go back and see it again because I feel like I might have missed something, and I probably have. But as far as just the basic storylines of everybody involved, it kind of got strained with a few people. For instance, the Finn and the brand new character Rose, the mechanic that you see on all the new posters and everything, she and Finn had this storyline in the movie that just, I found it a little extra, to be honest. It could have been cut from the film or even cut short to a degree, and you could have had an amazingly timed film, but we got it a little bit long-winded there. It wasn't something I necessarily hated because it was an interesting story, but it could have been cut down just a little bit. That's just an opinion. I know it's probably not a popular one, but I do believe it could have been cut down a little bit. And again, some of the disappointing factors are a little bit spoilerish. I'm not going to go into those right now. If you guys would like to see a spoiler review of Star Wars The Last Jedi, throw that in the comments section. I want to hear from you. Try my best to get that out to you just as soon as possible if you guys would like that. But since we're not going into spoiler territory, some of the parts in this movie were just a little disappointing, and there were some things that I would have loved to see in this movie that I didn't get to see, that didn't happen, and those were disappointing. So at the end of 2 hours and 33 minutes, I was left kind of in awe because of the visual effects and the soundtrack and everything of this nature. And of course, I did see it in large format. Had to see it in large format 4K with the surround sound and everything. That was a fantastic feature. Glad I did that. Paid the extra money for that one. But it was, like I said, a little bit disappointing. They weren't things I hated. There wasn't anything in this movie that I hated. Even Kylo Ren's emo-ish little self from the first movie, which I think was a little bit harsh to call him an emo crybaby in the first movie, he kind of fixes that a little bit this time. He got a little bit of darker presence, that whole scar thing that Rey gave him in the Force Awakens with the lightsaber. So it has kind of bolstered him a little bit, put a fire to his metal, and turned him a little bit harder, and I did like that. So all in all, as far as experience goes, if you guys are thinking about going to see this movie in theaters, especially with the kids, don't worry, there's no super violent themes in the movie, okay? There's no blood, there's no guts, there's never really has been any blood or guts in a Star Wars movie. A few severed limbs, but it's a lightsaber, cauterizes it right off, man. Just, that's the beauty of a lightsaber. So you can take your kids to see it, especially if you need to, really shut them up for about 2 hours and some odd minutes. Perfect. Some of them actually might fall asleep. That's the only problem, though. And if you're going to spend your money on it, I would definitely recommend going to a high format, large format theater. You're going to get the most bang for your buck, but you can honestly see this in a regular format and still get away with it as far as detail and quality go. So as far as experience, spend your money in the theater, go see it. It's already made a massive amount of money, but you don't really have to break the bank. Now the rating on this one was a little bit dicey, okay? A little bit dicey because I wanted to give it a full moon. I really did, because of its Star Wars name, and we waited so long for it, and it actually was great visually and soundtrack-wise, character-wise was great visually. But there were a lot of things that kind of knocked off a few points for me. A, the time on the movie was a little bit long. B, there were a few parts in the movie that could have been cut out to make that time a little shorter and a little bit more condensed. C, there were a few characters that we really didn't need to see. But overall, they were kind of useful in the storyline. So, all that being considered, I'm going to have to go with a quarter moon. I'm going to have to go to quarter moon or all the way across. Just because of those few things that knocked off a little bit of points, didn't quite make the full moon, full Death Star there. But hey, it's still a great movie, and I really think you guys should enjoy it. And that about wraps it up for this review. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. If you guys liked what you saw, click the like button right down below. And have you seen Star Wars The Last Jedi, or any of the Star Wars that were on the channel reviewed, or what have you? Comment below. I want to hear from you guys. I want to see what your guys' opinion was. And if you liked what you saw and you want to see more, click the subscribe button to make sure you get all of the great content coming to your eyeballs on the weekly, on the monthly, because we work hard to bring that content straight to your faces. And speaking of straight to your faces, my links to all of my social media is going to be right down below in the description section as always, which include Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, so you guys can catch me on that as well. Make sure to share the crap out of this, and yeah, that's about it. My name is Mr. Midnight. This has been another edition of Midnight's Premiere. Thanks for watching, guys.